Well, you guys, I am just so excited that we all got to join here together. And we four are on this Zoom together because we're brought together through different parts of the country. We've got Robin up in the top corner from Montana, and I love her to pieces, and she knows a lot of people in the equine world, and she calls herself the crazy horse lady, but she's a smart one at that. So I'm looking forward to hearing from Robin. She's got some questions from our special guests, Bonnie and Kim Heath from Florida, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about themselves when they answer some of Bonnie's questions. And below me is Kelli. Kelli White is a pro barrel racer, and I met her just not even 2 weeks ago now, and it didn't take long for us to get together face to face and found out we have two crazy women in the same room. And she is a smart woman and very much steeped into the equine barrel racing world and knows a lot of people in that world as well. So we have me, who's learning about horses, and 3 people who knows a lot about horses on this call that I'm thrilled to be on right now. So Robin, I'm going to hand it over to you. Introduce yourself, where you're from, a little history, and then you had a very important question because you're beginning to share this Nrf2 activation and what it's doing for horses with some of your world. And we have some very much experienced people in the last many years that have been using Nrf2 activation in the equine world. So take it away, Robin. And I'm just going to monitor the conversation here and sit back and learn.
I live out in Montana, about 45 minutes from Bozeman, and I have 3 horses. I've always been fascinated with, I don't like to use the word alternative medicine, but I do use a lot of essential oils for thrush in a horse's hoof, cuts, rain rot, many things. Mud fever, I don't bother buying products to treat those things. I just make up my essential oils in combinations that I feel are important, that work every single time. I also became heavily involved in Chinese herbs this last year when a horse tore a deep flexor tendon on a smooth fence tensioner, and it was bad. I was first told he'd never be able to be ridden again. I was told he would never be able to be used again. Then they progressed and said, yeah, you might be able to use them on light rides, then some trail rides. And then suddenly I had changed vets, and they were looking at the changes and amazed at what was happening just with Chinese herbs. So when I heard about the Nrf2 and how it worked, I became fascinated with that, and I wanted to share it with some friends. In that regard, I also grow hay, and this year took on the challenge of trying to grow low sugar hay for horses with Cushing's and the different issues that they end up having when they become resistive to sugars and all of that. Insulin resistant is a very popular term. So the Nrf2 was really intriguing to me since I'd already used herbs, and it was amazing how well they worked. And I found out that the Nrf2 used 5 herbs in differing amounts, a little bit less of this, a little more of this, but the way they were configured and put together is what made the Nrf2 become so, help the body become reactive, help the body improve itself and start turning on systems that had slowly gone downhill through our life, because we're born with so much of this when we're born, and yet it starts to wear out. So I have a friend that named Mary that has this fantastic gaited horse who she loves to canter on. She loves to go on extensive rides on, and I just think the world of her and her horses. But she went on, she was going to lessons, and she went on lessons for 2 months and doing just flat groundwork. And then she went on a big mountain ride with another girlfriend of mine who is an endurance rider. And at one point they got up and walked their horses, and they came back. They were up in the well, I'm not sure where they were, but I do know that the gal she was riding with, being an endurance rider, has incredible places that she goes, and then she posts them later. What happened when she got back was her horse Raven wasn't riding properly. She wasn't right. And there had been an issue with using a different saddle. And when she took the saddle off, she saw these marks, these raises on the back of the horse, and the horse just seemed terribly reactive to being touched where those raises were. And she thought, you know, maybe this saddle isn't fitting right. I should have just used the other saddle. And then she gave her horse a day off, and the bumps kind of went down, but then the horse became lame. And you looked at her, when I looked at this horse yesterday, I could see the lameness in her, almost like she was becoming laminitic, but she has no excuse to be that way because her diet is very, very, very carefully taken care of. She does have some low sugared hay. Her mom doesn't give her anything that's sweet. She's a really well cared for horse, but she is an easy keeper. If you even run hay under her face, if she inhales hay smell, she can get fat. So she does have that going, but she's been tested for PSSM. She's been tested for a lot of different issues, and everything has come back negative. Now, the vet did give her a couple of rounds of antibiotics because she seemed to be lethargic. She just wasn't herself. And that was a couple of weeks ago that was over. But she doesn't want to trot now. She doesn't really want to walk. Mary tried to flag her yesterday to get her to go. She doesn't want to go. She stands so wrong in her back legs now, with one leg turning out and the pressure being relieved from it by having the leg kicked forward. She seems sensitive in her neck as well. When you touch her neck, she pulls away from the pain. It pulls away from the touch as if it's painful, but it's not. You can see her flinch when she does it. And otherwise, you know, that's about all that's going on with her.
Robin, if you can hear us, you're having a temporary freeze in your screen. So, oh, there she goes. Oh, you're back. Okay, good.
Okay. So this Friday, I believe it's a massage therapist who is coming to take a look at this horse. This horse is doing something even newer now. She's really camping underneath herself and with her feet. And to me, I've seen them camp out. But you and I, if we were to start to camp underneath ourselves, we would be maybe curling up because we have pain internally somewhere. I'm at a loss. I have given some information to Mary about what Nrf2 is and how it works, but I don't know what else I can tell her. And if anybody has any ideas or has seen this happen before, it would be really helpful to me to assist Mary, because at this point she's done the doctor thing. She's had the tests. She's been out to the equine hospital. She's changed vets. And I think we're at the end of the road as far as what she can do with veterinary medicine.
Well, I have some suggestions, and
let me qualify us first.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm Bonne, Heath. This is my wife Kim, and we've been doing this a long time. We've been raising thoroughbred horses for my family over 60 years. To qualify myself personally, I woke up when I was 6 years old the first Saturday of May, and my dad's horse won the Kentucky Derby that day. He and his partner had a horse that won the Kentucky Derby that day, the first Florida bred to do so. So I've been hooked ever since. I've been a horse crazy little boy. Kim's the horse crazy little girl over here, but we've been doing this together for over 30 years also. So she can speak to to your situation, Robin, and we love what we do. Otherwise we'd probably shoot ourselves. So hold on.
I'm sure you girls know about the cost of your or of the upkeep of them and the cost of your time doing this. You have to be passionate about it, otherwise you wouldn't make it. So
Yeah.
I, like Bonnie says, I was a horse crazy little girl, and always get in any opportunity to be near a horse, I was there. And when Bonnie and I met, I was what you call a bloodstock agent, who is just like a real estate agent, only you broker horses. So I would buy horses for people, including myself, and I'd resell them to other people. Or somebody would call me and ask me to sell their horses, or go to a horse sale and buy horses for them, that kind of thing. So that's what I was doing when we got together. And the rest is history as far as that goes. And we had a very large operation for a long time, and then we've gradually cut it down. We're not training anymore. We are breeding less and less horses each year. Experience-wise, in training and raising and breeding and all that, we've kind of gone through the whole gamut. And to further qualify, just like Becki was talking about this, I'm not a vet, and I can't diagnose this horse for you or anybody, really anybody's horse. But I can say that the Nrf2 activation, all it does is lower oxidative stress dramatically. But by dramatically lowering the oxidative stress, you dramatically lower the inflammation in the body. So that's why it works with so many different things, because it's only doing one thing, but that one thing makes a difference, such a difference in the body, that the body starts healing itself. And so your body is doing all the work. All you're doing with the Nrf2 activation is putting it in a healing place. And so as far as the horse is concerned, once you give that horse the Nrf2 activation, it's only going to take a few days for a horse, because their metabolism is so much faster. Y'all know all about like a dog is 7 years to a human one. That's because their metabolism is so much faster, which also causes faster and more dramatic oxidative stress. And so my suggestions on the horse go further than that. Not only does it need the Nrf2 activation, but there is something experience-wise I can say from training, is that usually when a horse hops behind, it's because they don't want to move their hind leg forward. It's painful to move the hind leg forward. So that being said, I would look to things like a pulled groin muscle or ligament, like a horse would do a split, or maybe they slid on something on the trail and spread their hind legs a little too far apart. That's, and that's one of the things that you have to go hunting for. You have to start palpating up in their crotch to find it, or picking up a hind leg and moving it forward or out a little bit to see where the pain is. But also your description kind of leads me to believe that there's a little bit more going on there neurologically. So, if they pulled something and it's pinching on a nerve, then that may be the issue too. But all of that is inflammation. So then you go back to the Nrf2 activation again.
The other thing that comes to mind to me is that if that saddle was bothering that horse up front, then the horse would compensate behind by changing its action. And being on a trail ride of any consequence could could have caused some issues also. It's a known fact that you talk about laminitis, Robin, that about the diet and cutting back on the sugar, et cetera. That's critical. That's only 1/3 of the equation. It's laminitis is caused, they have proven, by carbohydrate overload or stress or infection. And our strength or our story comes from our mare that had a stillborn foal. And she had the stress of losing the foal and the stress of an infection by the retained placenta. So she had 2 of the 3. So there are 3 elements they're not always involved, don't get me wrong, but those are the 3 elements that they tie to laminitis.
Yes. And I don't know if y'all have seen the wonderful FaceTime video that Becki did of our interview, but you can get the story of our mare from there, the mare that had laminitis, and just the in activating the Nrf2 for her. Just, what can I say? She's with us today, and she's had 3 foals since then, and she's out in the paddock with all the other herd. Yeah. No shoes.
No shoes.
So, do you have any more questions that, from what we have said that might trigger something for you?
I don't think so. I'd be interested if anybody else has any questions of you.
Kelli.
Well,
okay,
hello. I'm Kelli.
Hi, Kelli.
And hi. I'm originally from Colorado. I'm transplanted up here to the Northwest. My husband works across the border every day in British Columbia. And I was bitten by the horse bug, I think, when I came out of the womb. So they're my passion. Love them to death. I came across Nrf2 on a friend's Facebook post, and it was a friend of a friend, and somebody had asked her, how's your horse doing? And she goes, oh my God, the changes that has come. And so I went to her post page and started reading about where she was at the end of her rope, where it was taking 15 minutes to get her horse even out of the stall. It didn't want to walk. So yeah, I became very interested. I'm always searching for something to help my horses. There's, technology, whatever, science. There's always something new out there. And so she was at the end of the rope where she thought she was going to have to put her horse down. And somebody had turned her on to this Nrf2 activation, and her horse was now coming from trying to get it out of the stall for 15 minutes to where 30 days later she's galloping around at the end of a lunge line. And so I was like, all right. And then I further found out that this was originally for people. So I started doing the research, and long story short, my husband has chronic inflammation. He's been to the doctors a few times, and taking guys to the doctor is, how it is. And he's like, the doctors don't listen to me, yada, yada, yada. Well, I've tried several things with him. And so I'm like, okay, I'm getting this Nrf2, and we're going to try it out. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to do an experiment on you. So, and he's used to it. He's always telling me, what are you giving to me now? You're poisoning me. I'm going to die tomorrow.
Men are such babies. Sorry, Bonnie, not you.
2 weeks into it, with me, I could feel something was going on and stuff. And I'm like, hey, I have more energy, my aches and pains are kind of, feeling better. My brain fog, I was like, hey, starting to remember stuff. And So I, sitting next to my husband, and I asked him, I said, so are you feeling anything? And I got a maybe out of him. And I mean, when I get a maybe, that's the first time. I don't know when. I have never gotten a maybe out of him. And I've given him all kinds of stuff or whatever. But getting a maybe was a big fireworks were going off. I'm going, hey, we are onto something here. So, yeah, so 2 weeks after that, I always hear before he goes out the door, I'm handing his Nrf2 to him, and he takes it on his way out the door and stuff. And I had been having dizzy spells, vertigo, whatever. And so that there was a Monday morning, I was getting ready to go in and ride again. And so I out and feed and pick up pins and stalls, get the dogs feed, get him out the door. And so I already sent him out the door, and I went out and did the horses, and I'm running back into the house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to give that to him this morning. I came in here and it's gone, because I leave it sitting on top of the bottle and it's gone. And I was like, oh, he took it all by himself. How another win.
That's awesome.
That's
So anyways,
a guy thing.
Like I said, my horses, they're my team members. I used to be very big into raising and training my own, and I still have one that is from an embryo transfer, and I'm glad I did that. She is 3, and I lost her mom right before I moved here. She colicked again after having colic surgery. And so my 3-year-old out there is all I have left of her, and I'm really excited about her. And I've had a couple of people say, you really should put that horse on the track. And I'm like, I'm just saving her. Because I have a very, very big feeling of the things she's going to accomplish in the barrel horse world. And then my mare that I am currently running, she's 7. She is by Judge Cash, and she's off the track. When I picked her up as a, I guess, coming 4-year-old, had it, did the whole head check on her and everything, and she was, a little underweight. She was just growing rapidly, and there was a bump at the front of her knee, and picking horses up off the track, whatever. I just, you've been around long enough, you kind of know what things are, and the vet didn't want to x-ray it, and I'm like, okay, fine. But I had a feeling what it was, and lo and behold, in our futurity year as her 5-year-old, we went in and we hit a barrel, and she came out of the renal lame, and so had my vet check her out, and that was a chip, and it had already attached, but he said, this isn't what is causing her problems, but it will in the long run. So I pulled her out of her futurity year, and because I wanted to get that taken care of, jump on it and save her for the long run. And so we did the surgery. She ended up banging it because stall rest and hot blooded horses, they just don't go hand in hand. If we could put them in a padded stall, we'd all be happy. Bubble wrap, whatever. But anyways, long story short, we got that all taken care of. We still have a little bump there, which is just a scar. This year, while competing in July, my horse, we went in, ran the fastest run we ever have had on a pattern, and I think there was 123 gals racing that day. stayed till the end of the race. I wasn't paying attention, to the times and stuff. I just knew we did really good. And I'm like, well, maybe we'll see where we end up. Then ran my second horse. So after they got all done, and then they announced that my horse and I were the winner, and it was totally awesome. And it was a big moment for us. So God definitely blessed me that day. But loading up so she'd been standing at the trailer tied after that, probably for 2.5 hours with a hay bag and stuff. But when I put her in the trailer and putting the feed doors up, I noticed the blood. So that was the first sign of her having, bleeding. So the pulmonary induced hemorrhaging. And so that is probably my biggest question is, I did have her scoped. We went and ran another race. We started having some gait refusals, and a friend of mine said, well, if she's bled, then, this tends to be a problem. And so listening to my horse, because she's never started, had gait issues before. She's always willing to go in and compete. And so we gave her a little bit of Lasix, came out. And so I think I did 2 cc's of Lasix, came out, and the vet said, go ahead and get her cooled out, take about an hour and a half, bring her back. And then he did a scope. And he said, well, it worked because she's not showing. But in the meantime, everybody's recommending, let's stay on the Lasix. And I'm if I have to go that route, I'll do it. But I'm hoping that the Nrf2 activation, this is going to take care of that.
Well, there are quite a few success stories about bleeding. So in racehorses and barrel horses. So you're on the right road, but it would probably be something that you would want to, before you stopped using the Lasix, you would want to go for a few months with the Nrf2 activation and see where you are with it. Maybe gradually reduce the Lasix, after a few months, and then, before you would want to just throw her in there without any Lasix. And
there's a lot of studies on Nrf2 activation and pulmonary and cardiovascular success. So I think we're on the right path. It's my gut feeling that if we, in the thoroughbred racing industry, if we persevere long enough, that Nrf2 activation could replace Lasix. That's my hope, because I know I know the side effects of Lasix, and day in and day out, it's not that good a deal. So that's my hope. That's all.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Not
too.
a vet.
And that's where I'm at right now is listening to my horses, and it was just, we all need that time off. So I jerked shoes last month. They're off till I'll start bringing them back in January. So they have been on the Nrf2 activation for 4 weeks now, and I'll continue it. And then we're going to start training again come January, and our first big races will be in April. So we'll see what happens. I know they're feeling great now. I think they're going to get ran around a few times before I crawl on them.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
So Bonnie and Kim, I have 2 questions for you. And that is, one is, you said there's several studies. Can you direct those listening, and then also Kim and Robin, Kelli and Robin, can you direct them to where are those studies on the what you were just saying? Is that in PubMed, or is that something that you could give us access to, or at least point us in the direction of those studies, because that's fascinating.
You can go to pubmed.gov and put in Nrf2 activation equine.
Okay.
Or horse if you want to. You may get some different hits on equine or horse or something like that, but you can put in pulmonary, say Nrf2 pulmonary, or you can put in oxidative stress pulmonary equine.
Okay.
And see what you get. As far as on our Nrf2 activator, there are 6 studies that are related to cardiovascular issues, in humans. But of course, we know that Nrf2 activation works in all mammals.
Well, the body will pinpoint what needs help first, as we know. Doc Marvin calls Nrf2 activation the normalizer. He calls it the normalizer. And we have used Nrf2 activation on non-sweaters, which we get in Florida sometimes in the summertime. We also use it on old arthritic horses to decrease the inflammation. Have had wonderful success. And we also use it for sales yearlings and sales weanlings that go to various sales around the country, usually Keeneland up in Kentucky. And tremendous stamina help and focus. And it's wonderful to watch this. So it's not just 1 or 2 areas. It's just pretty much normalizes everything and puts us back where we would be otherwise without all the oxidative stress.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of show horse people that have their horses Nrf2 activated and make comments about their anxiety being gone. So,
That's what I'm excited to do. I have had a few people ask me about that. Is this going to make my horse hot and stuff? And I had watched your video before when you were talking about your yearlings, and you even had a weanling there that you're bringing out and showing it several times.
94 times. We showed him 93, and we went to the stall, and he's ready for 94. Amazing.
It's when they're not crawling all over top of you.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, he was fine.
Amazing.
So I'm excited about that too.
So talk to us about to just what you have done, what you recommend for how much dosage, especially for Robin's gal whose scenario that is a more acute. So what have you normally done on acute situations? How long would you keep them on in the acute situation? And then when would you go back to a normal 1 dose? And address the question why these horses, I'm 120 pounds and a horse is like that big, and we both can take, 1 pill and it affect us the same way. That's mind blowing. So can you address that? And then the 4th thing, I said 2 questions. I lied. 4th thing is talk about the Nrf1 and the mitochondria in the horse and what you found there. So I know that's a little bit separate. So handle the first 3, and then can you briefly go into the Nrf1, because I think that's going to be a new story to Robin and Kelli as well.
Okay. And also the true science.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Please talk about that.
Okay. So the dosage, we thought initially that we needed to dose by weight as compared to a human with 1 pill a horse would get. In the case of our big mare was 9 pills a day. Well, we found that was overkill, and you don't want to go overkill because it's, what did you call it?
Oh, it's the law of diminishing returns.
So, and Doc Marvin talks about it a bit too, is that you want to turn on the switch, and then all you have to do is keep it on. Now, a lot of people say that the horses really don't need loading doses, but if you're in an acute situation, like your horse is in that much pain, I would give it first few days I'd give it 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. Is this a quarter horse?
She's some type of a gated horse. I think
Okay.
she might be water.
Okay, so it's going to be, essentially the same. It's really not weight dependent. We do manage, like in babies and all, you want to give tinier amounts, but you can gradually increase it in a baby. But, if you get probably 4 or 5 days of 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, then you can probably knock out one of those, drop it down to 3. And as the horse gets better, go ahead and drop it down to 2 a day. I would stay at 2 a day for a horse that has issues. A horse that just may have some joint pain or whatever, and it's just, maybe a little gimpy. 2 a day is going to be fine. But, if your horse doesn't have any obvious issues, maintenance would be just 1 a day.
Okay.
And as far as the Nrf2 goes, a quick story is that we had a mare that had Heaths. And of course, now they have another name for it, but y'all knew what I'm talking about. And she started on the Nrf2 activation, and it made a huge difference for her. And she was doing great. And then as she got older, we had to increase her from just 2 a day and to keep her more comfortable. And then when the Nrf2 came out, I was real excited to try to activate her Nrf2. That maybe it would be in addition to the Nrf2 activation in keeping her comfortable. And it did. I would say that the Nrf2 over the course of her last few years gave her comfort dramatically. But when we kicked in the Nrf2 on top of it, it just really took an edge off for her. And as far as the use of the Nrf2 for the topical, I use it with the horses, with, just anything that's skin related, but also things like tendons and ligaments that are close to the surface of the skin, because it penetrates. And, you'll get some pretty good penetration of the Nrf2 topical. And I would say tendons, ligaments, muscle pulls, things like that. It can be a little bit stingy, burny at first, but within a minute or two, it's not. So if you have a horse that's, flinching from it or whatever, it's just for a minute, it'll be a little burny, stingy to them.
If you ever catch a trailer hitch on your shin, put it on there quick, because it happened to me, and an hour later I couldn't tell you which shin I caught. So an hour earlier I was around with tears coming down my cheeks.
So yeah, that's the number 4 particularly for those that are listening, that's our skincare line, and our skincare line is Nrf2 activated, but it's of the surface. So that you're talking about the number 4 that you're using here, right?
Yes, anti-aging.
Go back to quick, what is Nrf2 doing? What part of the horse is this working on? So just for those that are listening that are new, that there's going to have no grasp, but you've really gone through the switching on, keeping it on. It's been awesome on Nrf2. What part of the horse is the Nrf2 working on now, and the human, the mammal?
Okay, so both of these pathways go into the cell, every cell of your body. And the Nrf2 tells your DNA to kick in the production of your own endogenous antioxidants. But the Nrf2 goes to your mitochondria in the cell. And when the mitochondria is damaged, it will replicate itself in damaged mitochondria. So what we're doing with the Nrf1 activation is repairing the original mitochondria so that when it replicates improved and really regenerated the mitochondria. So what mitochondria does in your body is kick out the ATP, which is your energy function. So it supercharges certain areas of the body, like the heart, the muscles, the brain, things like that are supercharged with ATP. ATP is also everywhere else in your body for energy, but those areas are particular for it. So the complement of doing both things is just, it's the way to go if we can do it.
Right.
Awesome.
And
That's
you
so
don't want to, you don't want to activate your Nrf1 unless you are activating your Nrf2, because when you do activate Nrf1, you are increasing your oxidative stress a little bit. So you want to make sure you're reducing it before you increase it.
I did have one other question.
Yeah.
I have a sugar bush harlequin draft, and if you've never seen one, you need to look him up. He has a tendency to get very anxious at lunchtime, dinner time, I should say, and starts pawing and kicking his stall door. And I noticed I put him on some herbs, and he doesn't do that anymore. So you're saying that NFR2 may make him less stressed, and therefore I could just carry forward with NFR2?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
That would be so much easier.
Unless he's made it a habit.
Yeah. Well,
a habit is maybe not in
But
our.
he has stopped doing that on the herbs, but the herbs is very time consuming.
Yes.
we have a rescue mare we've had for several years, and she was not fed properly. I'll leave it like that when we got her. And come feeding time, she could become more than anxious. She was quite aggressive. And the change in her behavior is quite noticeable. So,
Yes, even for years after she had plenty of feed,
right.
she would still attack the other horses if they came near her feed, and she was very unruly. She would try to bolt away from us all the time. And with the Nrf2 activation, she's a different horse.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to find out.
unbelievable. You guys, this is like blowing my mind. Kelli, do you have a question? I see your pen go up.
I do. Have you guys heard anything about what about horses that are wind sucking or I just forgot the word.
Cribbers.
Cribbers. Yes.
Yes.
But cribbers.
I'm not sure, how that would be, and I haven't heard anybody that has been doing it. It's back to that habit thing. Maybe the original thing that started it might have been helpful with the Nrf2 activation, but is the habit going to be affected? I'm not sure. We have a horse that's a weaver, and it really hasn't changed him very much, but he's not bad anyway. He just gets in the corner and does his little head thing.
Cribbers we get rid of.
Yeah, we don't have any cribbers on the farm.
Yeah.
Let us know.
We have Centaur fence, which is the rubber with cable going through, and the cribbers will just keep popping that off the posts, and it drives you crazy. So they're the first ones we get rid of, is the cribbers.
Well, unfortunately, that's my 3-year-old, and she's just a mouthy baby. I don't know where she picked it up at, because it, supposedly a learned behavior. She wasn't around anybody.
It won't make it worse. So I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, I keep telling her it's going to work.
Good.
And she looks up there, Yeah, your angels are speaking to you, so you better listen to
Yes,
them.
there you go.
Yep, that's good. That's a great question, because you're not going to be the only one that listens to this that has questions, and maybe you'll be, no, not maybe. Kelli, you will be our first story of success on a cribber. So let's go there. Let's believe that. We'll just pull that one right down from heaven. Okay. So anyway, well, first of all, don't you guys leave. I'm gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna chat with you for a minute. But I'm gonna talk to those of you that are watching this today, that somebody has shared this with you. Thank you for listening in, and I hope it's been helpful to hear from some of the experts and just hear these stories and some of the solutions. And whoever shared this video with you, please get back to the person that shared this video with you, because they shared it with you because they care for you, because they know you care for your equine family members, and that's indeed what they are, and or other mammals. So thank you indeed for watching. Get back with the person that shared this video with you, and thank you so much to Bonnie and Kim Heath, who have been with this company for many, many years and experienced they've just helped so many lives and horses' lives. Thank you, Kelli, for sharing. Thank you, Robin, for being with us. And we're going to say goodbye and sign off here.